Amongst the delights awaiting you on this week's programme, I check out the undeniably gorgeous but also seriously and, well, really rather worryingly practical Alfa Romeo Sportwagon. But first of all, I discover you don't have to drive a Porsche to drive a fast, flash car. You could drive a Renault Clio. Well, not any Renault Clio, this one. Sometimes, sure, you look forward to driving the cars. Heck, it's hardly a bad job, is it? But then other times, you really look forward to it. You really get up early for it, and even get a bit of a rush on. And this is just such a car. It's the Clio Renault Sport V6. Bred directly from the race car and unlike anything else, and I'm excited. Yes! I got it! It's mine! Oh, you beauty! I have been looking forward to this for weeks. I didn't know exactly what to expect, but I know I did not expect to find comfort, and I have. It is comfortable, which is amazing. It's a race car. It's basically a race car put on the road with very little changed, and yet you pull away, it could be in any shopping car. The ride is absolutely superb. For me, I think this is going to prove to be one of the best features in the car. It's comfortable, it's pliant, but you know you're in something that's a bit out of the ordinary. Obviously, the dominating feature when you're driving the thing is the engine, mostly because it's in here with you, just behind my right ear. And the noise, as you blap up and down that 6-speed gearbox, is superb. One slight issue is it's very easy to become rev happy. Because it's a V6, it's got that lovely note, because it's mid-engine, you can hear it clearly. And it's very easy to start chasing it right up through the rev range. Actually, you don't need to. Most of the torque, because it's a V6, is in the middle of the rev range, about 3,500. That's when it really has the guts to get you out of or into trouble. Now, quite obviously, there's no way could you always drive this car to the limit of its potential. There are laws against that sort of thing, and the concentration would fry your brain very quickly. So it's got to look as though it can go really, really fast when all you're doing is cruising through down, window down, elbow out. And it does. They've gone mad with the body styling on this thing. Huge, deep spoilers front and rear. Definite reflections and recollections of the old Renault 5 Turbo with its broad, squat stance. And something of the Renault Spider too, which was equally mad, the way this line follows the rear wheel. And these huge sills on the door with the door handle hidden underneath. And these massive door sills to clamber over, making it quite a journey getting in. Essential touches, like the little metal fuel filler. And then this huge, outrageous, enormous bum. It's massive. That has serious presence, and when that goes past you, you know something special has happened. Anyway, that's all talk. I want to drive it again. On the limit, it is simply superb. It is so predictable and reliable. Breakaway, the point at which the car starts to slide, is very progressive. It lets you know and then slowly loses grip and starts to drift about a little bit. But once it's started to slide around, you can adjust the car perfectly on the throttle and the wheel. And the brakes as well if you really feel the need. So you can drive messily and with great flamboyance, and rather badly, like me, or you could drive neatly and with great precision, like a proper race driver. So, It's pretty much as fast as a Porsche Boxster. At about 25.5 grand, it's not much more than half the price. It looks like nothing else on the road. Boy racers will be chewing their own feet off with envy because you've got something they couldn't possibly hope to have. And thanks to that exclusivity, you probably won't lose a bundle on it either. But it is that exclusivity that could give you a bit of a problem, because they're only going to be bringing 400 into the UK anyway, and those are all sold, and then some. If you were to put down your order and your cash now, you wouldn't see your car until 2002. Boo.
One of the areas most keenly contested amongst car manufacturers these days is the sports utility vehicle market. That's a 4x4 with alloys to you and me. Well, the competition just got even keener with this, the Vauxhall Frontera Sport V6. Now, you might more commonly associate a car like this with a trip to the supermarket or the twice daily school run, but we've come to the Brecon Beacons in Wales to put this car through its paces where it really matters, and that is off-road. Most 4x4 manufacturers have purpose-built tracks that demonstrate what the car can do and not too much of what the car can't. Well, here we're going seriously off-road down a Roman road through the Brecon Beacons, and this isn't purpose-built because we're free to go anywhere, and if we get stuck, we get stuck. Now, this car's permanent rear-wheel drive for on-road use, but if you're in Sainsbury's and you hit a bit of ice and you want to go four-wheel drive, then, like so many 4x4s these days, there's a switch where you can change on the go. A quick demonstration for you to show you how good the four-wheel drive is on a slippery surface. This first corner is in four-wheel mode, no problems. This second one is just rear-wheel drive. The less said, the better. So, how are we doing with our quest to find out if the Frontera can hack it off-road? Well, I have to say, I'm reasonably impressed. You wouldn't have thought any car could go places we've been today, let alone a Vauxhall. I'm a snob. It hasn't got the 4x4 pedigree, but it can do it. Now, this road is the famous gap in the Brecon Beacons, and that sign means you can only go certain days of the year, so you'll have to wait until March. I'm having a go today. A little bit of a history lesson for anyone who's interested. This used to be a bridge across this ravine, but during the Second World War they blew it up for practice. So now you have to go down and up, and it's quite daunting, but to this Frontera Sport it's a piece of cake. Wow, that's the Frontera Sport V6. It really does deliver a lot more than it promises off-road, and at 5 or less than 20 grand it represents absolutely brilliant value for money. And if you're looking for a car that you want to do the kids' school run in and perhaps the shopping, well, it'll do that as well.
More motoring delights for you after the break on Motor Week. Can I get out now? This is a stupid idea. Alfa Romeo. Even the sound of the name is enough to set the pulse racing and to put you in mind of a finer, more exciting era. A time when racers really were racers and their moustaches almost too big to fit into the cars they raced. But can you believe an Alfa Romeo estate? Surely that's taking the whole practical, sensible car thing just a little bit too far. Well, I don't know, because looking at it, it's hardly a box, is it? Far from it, in fact. It's positively slopey, a sort of italicised estate car. Oops, did it again, use the E word. Not an estate, it's a sports wagon. And if anything, it does have the heritage to match up to that name, based as it is on the gorgeous 156, with the same rather growly, frowny and certainly purposeful front end, the same really carved, very beautiful lines, and the same hidden door handles on the rear passenger doors to give it that more coupe-esque look. But then it all changes at the back, where we have this beautifully shaped, well, estate car rear, even with an integrated spoiler and a hatch that opens up into the roof to give reasonable access. Sports wagon, eh? Well, let's find out. Ah, yes. Forgot. It is, after all, still an estate car underneath. Neither is there anything in the drive to suggest you're behind the wheel of anything other than an ordinary 156. That means to say, yes, it's as dynamic and exciting as ever, it's still a little bit vague about the straight ahead as well, and perhaps the gear change could be a little less notchy. Other than that, it is still very much an Alfa Romeo to drive, and all the fun that that implies. It's not just an extra bit of boot that they've added on to the 156 to make the sport wagon. It's about another £1,000 as well, which means they start at just a shade under 15,000. That's for the entry-level 1.6 engine version, rising to 20,500 for the 2.5. But in that range, don't forget there's some more interesting alternatives, such as the very handy JTD with the superb turbo diesel engine at about £18,500. Heck, if you're going to have an alternative estate, you might as well have an alternative form of engine. The free Italian car fairy wandered up and gave you your choice of Alfa Romeo 156. You can have either the ordinary 156 or this, the sports wagon. Well, if it were me, I've got to say, I'd have this, the sports wagon. Putting the practicality issues aside, purely because I think it actually looks better, and being turned into this sports wagon really hasn't affected the drive. It's still great fun to pilot along the roads. So there you go. I'd go for the estate version of the Alfa Romeo. Who'd have thought it? Oh, yes, and the practicality. Well, it's nice, but who cares? It's an Alfa Romeo.
Now here's one for you. If someone asked you what you use your 5 gears for, then you may possibly say something like this. Well, first, you may possibly use it to pull out of your driveway first thing in the morning. Second, well, it could be used for going round that roundabout just to get you shopping. Third gear, well, we're driving with control now down those windy little country roads. Fourth gear, we're picking up speed, going down the A roads with a few little bends here and there. And fifth gear, well, we're cruising now, we're going down those motorways and the dual carriageways, but not going over the speed limit, remember? So why have Fiat come up with this? The new Fiat Punto speed gear, and it doesn't only have 5 gears, it has 7! So you want to know how it drives? Well, I'll tell you. This sporting version is a 1.2 16-valve engine, and for that I'm amazed at how much poke this car really has. When in standard automatic mode, the gear change is hardly noticeable, delivering a smooth but adequate driving power. And as with many automatic boxes, there is an economy button, giving an even smoother gear change and increasing the overall MPG. But with a quick flick to the left, you become fully in control, changing rapidly through the 7 available gears. The handling is extremely responsive, with the hardened sport suspension giving a smooth and solid feel through any bend. And for when you want to tackle those tight manoeuvres, there's a city button which increases the help given by the power steering, so those 3-point turns are just a walk in the park. So what comes as standard on the Punto Speed Gear Sporting? Well, there are lots of things, but I'll tell you just a few. Look at the tail lights, a nice razor edge to them on the back, colour-coded bumpers, coloured tail fin, and also your back tail light. And there's more as we go around to the side. Just look at these lovely curvy colour-coded skirts. We've got central lock-in, we've got alloy wheels, halogen lights, and I think the best bit is the colour. Pretty funky, hey? Moving inside, it's still got that funky kind of feel to it with these two-tone sport seats. We've got some great room in the back there if you've got the kids that are coming along on the journeys with you, with the rear seat belts as well. Now these seats really do feel great, and they are height adjustable as well for your little tiny person like me. You've got your steering wheel again, which is height adjustable, fantastic option. You've also got your front dials as well. They're nice and plain, so they're very, very easy to read, and you've got a visual display unit there as well. Moving over to your radio, a nice powerful, very, very loud radio here, which has got radio and a tape system. Moving down, you've got an option for air conditioning as well in those hot summer days that we don't have. And you've got a nice silver coated finish to the centre console. Moving down, you've got again an option, you've got a 5-disc CD, you've got a passenger airbag as an option, and also comes as standard is your driver's airbag. And not forgetting the main feature of this car, the chrome-plated 3-system gearbox. Simply push it down into reverse. Can you hear that? Nice little alarm warning bell there. Pop it down into drive, flip it over to the left, and hey, fancy a race off the lights, boys? All right, maybe not. So the facts and figures. 80 brake horsepower, 0 to 62 miles per hour in just over 12 seconds, top speed of 103 miles per hour, and an average of 43 miles per gallon. Not bad for a 1.2 engine. And the price isn't bad either, with this Speed Gear Sporting retailing at under 12,000. Now compare these prices to a standard 5-speed box Sporting or ELX, and there's a mere £500 difference. So why would you want to pay that extra £500? Well, I can think of 2 reasons. First option is you've got the automatic box, which is great for when you're pottering around the shops or if you're stuck in them horrible motorway jams. Second option, at a flick of a switch, you can transfer it over to manual control, where you get the chance to really, really drive the car. And don't forget, it's not 5 gears, it's 7. And that brings me on to my own third, very personal reason, because I think that you fellas out there, you just want to brag to your mates that you've got 7 gears.
If you're a true sports car fan, I'll bet you dreamt of owning a Porsche. Big problem with Porsches though, £35,000 minimum price tag, and that's for the baby Boxster. Now what the world's been waiting for is a cheap, affordable sports car, a poor man's Porsche that looks the part, drives the part, but costs half the price. Toyota think they've come up with the answer. The MR is £18,500, looks the business. Let's see if it drives the business. Toyota are pushing the fun factor big time with the MR, and first impressions are really good. It's one of those cars that you can jump straight into and just drive off and immediately feel comfortable with. It's also remarkably nimble. It shows all the features of a classic mid-engine car. You can really chuck it into the bends there. It responds very, very accurately to the steering, which is precise, light, but you get a good, accurate feel back from it. Although Toyota are pushing the fact that it's not a really hot car for performance, it's only got a 1.8 litre engine, so you wouldn't expect that. It is actually pretty impressive. You're talking 0 to 62 in 7.9 seconds, top speed of 130, but what I really like is it's got bags of torque. It goes all the way through the rev range, and it really is responsive whether you're going around town or once you get on a demanding, twisting country road. We're now hitting some wonderfully twisty bits, and I have to say the boys from Toyota are spot on. This really is a hoot to drive. Back end actually comes out a little bit in true sports car style if you overcook it, but it's actually very, very easy to get back in line. The other great thing is that Toyota have used their sports car experience to the full. They've given the MR one of the longest wheelbases in its class, even though it's actually not a very big car. And with all the other dimensions, Toyota really have succeeded in putting together a very clever little package. This is a genuine sports car. It's not for the guys that want really hairy performance, but there again, they're going to be paying a small fortune to get that. Economy is not normally a strong point in sports cars, but the MR is surprisingly economical. It'll return you about 38 mpg overall, which is pretty impressive. The exterior really is simply a very cheeky Porsche Boxster rip-off, but in a funny way, it works. This is still a classy little sports car. The interior is a bit more copycat, with shades of the Audi TT, with mock aluminium handles and drilled pedals, but it all has a rather cheap feel and look about it, which is a bit of a pity really. Unlike the majority of mid-engine cars, the MR has no boot, and that's its one big failing. There is enough room under the bonnet for a small hold door, but that's basically enough for a change of clothing, and that's your lot.
Join us next week on Motor Week when the team takes a good look at the Birmingham Motor Show, bringing you all of the best bits.